Secretary General Okafor maintained a diplomat's composure as the myriad delegation departed the UN chamber, but her hands trembled slightly when she retrieved her tablet. She'd spent her life studying quantum mechanics before entering politics, and something about the aliens' technology triggered a strange sense of déjà vu. "Madam Secretary, your immediate response is required," her aide whispered, handing her a secure communications device. Worldwide reactions were cascading into chaos. Religious upheaval, market crashes, and military establishments on high alert. "Tell them I'll convene an emergency session in 30 minutes, she replied, ducking into her private office. Once alone, she pulled out a worn journal her grandmother had given her, filled with strange equations and diagrams the old woman had claimed came to her in dreams. The mathematical formulations she dismissed as an old woman's fantasies now looked remarkably similar to the principles underlying myriad transportation technology. Meanwhile, at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, Dr. James Chen watched in stunned disbelief as their deep space monitoring equipment registered impossible readings. The myriad ships weren't just advanced, they were somehow manipulating spacetime itself, creating micro-wormholes for instantaneous communication across their fleet. "It can't be," he muttered, comparing the energy signatures to theoretical models his team had developed years earlier. The correlation was too precise to be coincidental. Somehow, humanity had theorized the exact technology the myriad were using, despite having no empirical basis for such theories. At Area 51, a classified facility beneath the more famous installation hummed with frantic activity. Dr. Sofia Rodriguez, head of the Unexplained Technologies Division, ordered the immediate activation of Project Prometheus, a decades-old contingency protocol established after the 1947 Roswell incident. "Bring me everything from the Black Vault," she commanded, especially the Sumerian tablets and the Antarctic fragments. In his private quarters aboard the flagship, High Chancellor Zex Toril removed his ceremonial armor, revealing a body covered in bioluminescent markings. He activated a secure channel to the Confederation Council. "The situation is more complicated than anticipated," he reported. "They show no conscious recognition, but I detected subtle neural patterns in their scientists, dormant pathways beginning to reactivate in response to our technology." "Is containment still viable?" asked the shadowed figure on the screen. "Verily, their digital information systems make control simpler than in previous cycles, but their scientific development is accelerating faster than our models predicted. We may need to implement Protocol Omega sooner than planned." "Unacceptable," the figure replied. "The Ancient Ones nearly destroyed us last time we rushed the procedure. Follow the established timeline. The human mind must be carefully prepared before the final revelation, or we risk catastrophic psychic backlash." Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, something ancient stirred in response to the myriad arrival. A facility untouched for hundreds of thousands of years activated emergency protocols as quantum sensors detected the specific frequency signature of Confederation vessels. Dormant systems awakened, power flowing through crystalline conduits that had waited patiently through ice ages and tectonic shifts. In a small apartment in Cairo, university student Amir Hassan woke suddenly from a dream of stars and ships, his hands automatically sketching a complex mechanical schematic he couldn't possibly understand. The same scene repeated in Tokyo, Buenos Aires, Lagos, and Seattle. Ordinary humans awakening with fragments of knowledge they had never learned, their minds responding to a trigger no one yet comprehended. The awakening had begun. Elena clutched the strange arrowhead-shaped device, its faint blue pulse synchronizing with her heartbeat as she followed the ship's corridors back to her quarters. Security drones patrolled with increased frequency, evidence of the mysterious visitor's impact on the myriad's normally unshakable composure. The device felt warm against her palm, almost alive. When alone, she carefully examined it under the ambient light of her quarters. The surface featured microscopic engravings, patterns that seemed to shift when viewed from different angles. Something about them triggered flashes of recognition, like words on the tip of her tongue. Property of the 3rd Sol Expeditionary Force, she whispered, surprising herself. The words had come unbidden, as if read from the object, yet the engravings were nothing like any human language. Her comm unit chimed with an incoming message from Earth. Dr. Reiko Tanaka, her research partner at Cambridge. Alina, something's happening globally. Reiko's voice was tense. Universities worldwide report random students and faculty suddenly demonstrating knowledge in fields they never studied. A janitor at Princeton solved an unsolvable mathematical proof. A homeless man in Delhi recited perfect coordinates for exoplanets we haven't discovered yet. The Myriad are monitoring all communications, Alina warned. That's just it. They've started restricting academic internet access, claiming technical incompatibilities. They're establishing cultural exchange centers in major institutions, but we've noticed key researchers disappearing into these programs. They're systematically identifying and isolating anyone showing unusual aptitudes. A soft chime indicated the ship's automated meal delivery. Alina quickly ended the call. The door slid open to reveal not food, but her myriad guide, Naren. Dr. Volkov, your interest in our archives has been noted as exceptional, Naren said, gliding into the room. The Council believes you would benefit from specialized cultural integration. I'm honored, Alina replied cautiously, palming the artifact behind her back. When would this begin? Immediately. Please follow me to the enhancement chambers. The euphemism sent ice through Alina's veins. During yesterday's tour, she glimpsed what the Myriad called enhancement. Beings floating in transparent cylinders, their neural systems connected to pulsing machines. I should inform my colleagues first, she stalled. That won't be necessary. Naren's 7-fingered hand moved toward a device on his belt. Acting on instinct, Alina thrust the arrowhead forward. It flared brilliantly, emitting a pulse that sent Naren staggering backward, his normally modulated voice emitting a high-pitched sound that the translation system couldn't process. Security alarms blared. Alina grabbed her emergency pack and the artifact, ducking into the corridor. Her mind raced with suddenly accessible knowledge of the ship's layout. Information she couldn't possibly know yet somehow did. 3 sections forward, 2nd maintenance shaft, auxiliary docking bay. Following the inexplicable instructions flooding her consciousness, Alina navigated through service corridors as the ship locked down around her. She reached a small hangar containing transport shuttles just as her mysterious Myriad ally from the previous night appeared from the shadows. You remember more quickly than expected, the scarlet-marked alien said, operating a control panel that opened a shuttle's hatch. The genetic memory triggers are working. Who are you? What's happening to me? Alina demanded. I am Kiramer, last of the Truth Keepers. The Myriad Empire is built on the greatest lie in galactic history. The alien's inner eyelids flickered with emotion. Your kind called my ancestors the Witnessed. We were there when humanity fell, and some of us never forgot our oath. The shuttle doors sealed as pursuing guards burst into the hangar. Through the viewport, Alina watched Kiramer face the security forces, making no move to escape. Return to Earth, the alien's voice came through the shuttle's comm. Find the awakened ones. Remember who you were. As the shuttle automatically disengaged from the flagship, Alina watched Kiramer fall under a barrage of energy weapons. The arrowhead grew warmer in her hand, its pulsing light now forming distinct patterns across its surface. A map leading to the Gobi Desert. Astra's awakening triggered a cascade of systems throughout the underground chamber. Lights activated along crystalline pathways embedded in the walls, illuminating a vast complex extending far beyond the initial room. The tattoos on her skin, now clearly identifiable as nanite colonies, pulsed with increasing intensity as she gained strength. Your genetic markers are remarkably pure, Astra noted, studying Alina's team with analytical precision. The bloodlines were maintained better than we projected. Dr. Khalid Rahman, the team's geneticist, cautiously approached. You speak as if this was planned. Every aspect of your development has been guided. Astra replied, accessing a console that emerged from the chamber floor. Though we could not control the Watcher's interference directly. The console projected a holographic map of Earth overlaid with thousands of pulsing nodes. Memory strongholds, Astra explained. Some have been compromised, others remain dormant. This facility serves as the primary nexus point, one of 17 planetary coordination centers. The arrowhead you carry is a key, designed to activate only for specific genetic sequences. Elena placed the artifact into a corresponding slot on the console. The chamber shuddered as massive machinery awakened deeper below. What exactly are we activating? Restoration protocols, Astra answered, her expression softening with something like pity. Your civilization was not meant to remain ignorant this long. The timeline was corrupted. From an adjacent corridor came the unmistakable sound of metal on stone. Someone else had entered the facility. Belena's team drew weapons as a figure emerged from the shadows. Secretary General Okafor. I followed your neural signature, Okafor explained, her eyes fixed on Astra. The Myriad don't know I'm here. How did you? Elena began. Because she carries the marker, Astra interrupted, studying Okafor intently. You're a guardian, though you don't yet remember. Okafor shook her head. I've been having dreams, calculations, star maps, coordinates. Things I shouldn't know. She turned to Elena. Whatever you found here, the situation above ground is deteriorating. The Myriad are establishing protection zones around major population centers. A deep rumbling interrupted them as a section of wall reconfigured itself, revealing an ancient armory filled with technologies that defied conventional understanding, weapons and armor that seemed to shift between solid and energy states. The Reclamation Arsenal, Astra stated, created for this exact contingency. As the team marveled at the discovery, Dr. Yasmin Chaudhry, their archaeologist, called out from another chamber. Elena, you need to see this. They followed her voice to find a vast hemispheric room whose ceiling displayed what appeared to be a real-time star map. At its center stood a crystalline structure containing suspended globes of varying sizes, a model of the galaxy. This can't be, Yasmin whispered. These markers indicate human settlements throughout the galaxy. Thousands of them, dating back millions of years. 5 million at peak expansion, Astra confirmed. Before the sundering, the facility's alarms suddenly blared. On a monitoring screen, they watched as myriad ships descended toward their location, deploying ground forces equipped with massive drilling vehicles. They'd found us, Elena realized. They were always going to find us. Astra corrected, activating something on her forearm. The nanite tattoos across her body flowed like liquid, extending to cover her entirely in a second skin that hardened into form-fitting armor. That's part of the protocol. They need to witness what comes next. The chamber floor split open, revealing a platform that rose from below. On it stood 12 more stasis pods, each beginning its awakening cycle. The memory keepers were never meant to fight alone, Astra said, as the facility's defense systems came online with a power signature that dwarfed anything the Myriad had deployed. The Sentinel Guard awakens. The neural interface finally disengaged, leaving Elena gasping on the chamber floor. Her mind burned with images, vast starships harvesting material from gas giants, city-sized orbital habitats circling distant suns, and humanity spreading throughout the galaxy not as conquerors but as explorers and builders. You're integrating the memories faster than expected, Astra observed, helping her to her feet. Your neural plasticity suggests you may be a direct descendant of the architect caste. Elena steadied herself against a console. I saw something. A conflict. Not with the enemy you mentioned, but among ourselves. Astra's expression darkened. The schism. The greatest wound in our history. Before she could elaborate, Dr. Caitlin Webb, the team's quantum physicist, interrupted. The myriad drilling vehicles have penetrated the outer perimeter. 20 minutes until breach. We need to activate the planetary broadcast. Astra decided. Earlier than planned, but but we have no choice. In the facility's central chamber, Astra guided them to what appeared to be a communications array, a crystalline spire rising from the floor to the ceiling, surrounded by control interfaces that responded to touch with flowing light. This will transmit ancestral memory triggers on a subquantum level, Astra explained. Every human on Earth will receive fragments, not enough to overwhelm unprepared minds, but sufficient to begin recognition. You're talking about affecting billions of people without consent, Secretary General Okafor objected. The consent was given long ago, by your ancestors, Astra countered. This is restoration, not invasion. As they prepared the array, Alina noticed Dr. Thomas Blackwood, their geologist, studying building schematics with unusual intensity. Something about his body language triggered a warning instinct she couldn't explain. The broadcast requires 5 genetically diverse humans, Astra instructed, indicating receptor panels around the spire. Alina, Okafor, Rahman, Webb, and Chaudhry took their positions. As they placed their hands on the panels, Blackwood suddenly drew a concealed weapon, not standard issue, but myriad design. Step away from the array, he commanded, his voice altered, deeper. Thomas, what are you doing? Alina asked, though she already knew the answer. He's not Thomas Blackwood anymore, Astra said calmly. He's a vessel. Blackwood's features contorted into an unnatural smile. The human you knew was hollowed out decades ago. I am Overseer Dax, 3rd-tier Shepherd. This facility will not be activated. How many of us have you replaced? Okafor demanded. Enough to guide human development along acceptable parameters, Dax answered through Blackwood's mouth. Your species serves a purpose in the cosmic order, as you are, not as you were. He aimed the weapon at the array's control interface, but before he could fire, a blur of motion crossed the room. One of the awakened Sentinel guards, moving with impossible speed, disarmed him with surgical precision. The weapon clattered to the floor as Blackwood's body was immobilized. The shepherds cannot stop what comes, the Sentinel stated, her voice carrying the weight of millennia. The remembering has already begun. Astra nodded to the team to proceed. As their 5 hands made contact with the panels, the crystalline spire illuminated from within, pulsing with expanding rings of energy that passed through the chamber walls, through stone and earth, out into the world above. On the monitoring screens, they watched as the energy wave expanded globally, invisible to conventional sensors, but registering on the facility systems. Where it passed, subtle changes followed. People pausing mid-sentence, looking skyward with sudden recognition. Children beginning to draw symbols they couldn't possibly know. First stage awakening initiated, Astra confirmed. Now we must defend this position until the process completes. Through Blackwood's mouth, Dax laughed. You're too late. The Myriad fleet has already entered the system. Protocol Omega has been authorized. What is Protocol Omega? Alina asked, the freshly implanted memories providing no reference. Planetary sterilization, Dax replied, his borrowed face contorted with grim satisfaction. If humanity cannot be controlled, it will be erased. Again. The protective dome shimmered as the first myriad energy weapons struck its surface, dissipating the attacks into harmless light displays. Inside the facility, Alina and her team worked frantically to prepare their defenses while monitoring the global awakening. The repository's shield will hold for approximately 12 hours, Astra explained, directing the Sentinel guards to strategic positions. After that, structural integrity will fail. Alina studied the tactical displays showing myriad forces surrounding their position. They're establishing a containment perimeter. More ships are entering atmosphere, military-class vessels. Not their primary fleet, Secretary General Okafor noted, her diplomatic experience giving her insight into their tactics. They're holding back their capital ships. Through the neural implant Astra had provided, Alina accessed the facility's historical archives, searching for precedents. There was another Protocol Omega, wasn't there? That's what happened to Mars. Astra's expression confirmed Alina's suspicion. Once the fourth planet in this system supported a thriving human colony. When it showed signs of remembering, the Myriad bombarded it with gravitic weapons that stripped away its atmosphere and magnetosphere. On the main communication panel, an incoming transmission alert flashed. After a moment's hesitation, Astra authorized the connection. High Chancellor Zex Toral's image appeared, his normally composed features tight with controlled fury. Memory Keeper, he addressed Astra directly, ignoring the humans. You violate ancient accords. The humans were to remember gradually, over centuries, not in a single generation. The accords were broken by your kind long ago, Astra replied. When you chose to exploit rather than guide. You risked their extinction, Zex Toral warned. Their minds cannot process such rapid awakening. Already, there are reports of mass psychosis in major population centers. Elena stepped forward. He's lying. The Myriad are jamming global communications, but I'm still receiving data through the repository's quantum channels. People are confused, yes, but they're adapting, faster than anyone expected. Dr. Raman accessed a medical terminal, analyzing incoming biological data. She's right. The genetic memory triggers are integrating with minimal neural stress. It's as if... He paused, staring at the readings in disbelief. It's as if human DNA was specifically designed to accept these memory imprints. Because it was, Astra confirmed. Your species' apparent evolutionary path was engineered from the start. What seems like natural development was a carefully constructed genetic program, a compressed archive of who you once were, waiting to be unpacked. Zex Toral's image flickered as he received information from off-screen. His inner eyelids blinked rapidly, a sign of distress. You've activated the lunar installation, he accused, real fear entering his voice. Astra smiled. The repository was never meant to stand alone. Its activation was merely the first key in a sequential unlock protocol. The facility shuddered as a more powerful weapon struck the protective dome. Warning indicators flashed across the status displays. Antimatter-tipped penetrators, one of the Sentinel guards reported. They're escalating beyond containment to active suppression. Chancellor, Okafor addressed the Myriad leader, her diplomatic training asserting itself. There's still opportunity for peaceful resolution. Your ships have detected the lunar installation powering up, but it hasn't yet deployed weapons. We can negotiate terms. You understand nothing of what you're awakening, Zex Toral interrupted, his composure cracking. The ancient humans weren't peaceful explorers. They were the most feared force the galaxy had ever known. The forgetting wasn't just protection. It was punishment. For what crime? Elena demanded. For playing God, Zex Toral answered, and creating us. The transmission cut as another, more powerful blast rocked the facility. Through the neural link, Elena suddenly received thousands of distress signals from humans worldwide, not experiencing psychosis as Zex Toral claimed, but reporting systematic Myriad attacks on civilian targets. They're targeting anyone showing signs of accelerated awakening. Elena realized. This isn't containment, it's extermination. The ancestral resonance intensified globally as the repository's signal strengthened, riding the planet's electromagnetic field. In New Delhi, a schoolteacher suddenly understood the mathematical principles behind Myriad shield technology. In Rio de Janeiro, a bus driver instinctively recognized the weak points in alien architecture. Across Earth, ordinary humans accessed knowledge they had never learned but somehow always possessed. Inside the repository, Elena watched the cascading data with a mixture of wonder and dread. We're becoming something new, yet ancient. Not new, Astra corrected, monitoring the awakening patterns. Remembered. This metamorphosis was encoded into your species, dormant potential waiting for the catalyst. Dr. Webb's analysis of the incoming data revealed an unexpected pattern. The awakening isn't uniform. It's expressing differently based on individual genetic markers, specialized knowledge activating in distinct categories. The cased imprints, Astra confirmed. Architects, navigators, warrior guardians, bioshakers, void dancers. Each bloodline carried specific knowledge suited to their function in the greater whole. Outside, the myriad assault intensified. Their weapons now targeted specific frequency bands within the dome's energy matrix, methodically probing for weaknesses. The structure's estimated survival time dropped from 12 hours to 7. "We need to evacuate," Elena decided. "This facility has served its purpose. The signal is self-sustaining now. We're just targets if we remain." "There's one final protocol to initiate," Astra insisted. "The repository contains more than knowledge. It houses the genetic templates of the original Council, 13 beings who guided humanity's first expansion." She led them deeper into the facility, past chambers filled with technologies that defied conventional understanding, to a sealed vault at the complex's core. Here, 13 crystalline containers held what appeared to be liquid light, swirling with purpose and awareness. "Consciousness matrices," Astra explained. "The preserved minds of our greatest leaders, waiting to be reborn." "You want to release them into living hosts," Elena realized, horrified. "Like what happened to Blackwood." "No." Astra shook her head firmly. "The shepherds corrupt and dominate. This would be synthesis, a willing union of old wisdom with new perspective. But only for those who choose." Secretary General Okafor stepped forward, studying the swirling patterns. "I've dreamed of these lights my entire life." Before anyone could respond, the facility's defenses triggered automatically. Through the monitoring systems, they watched as 3 myriad capital ships took position in low orbit, directly above their location. "Gravitational distortion weapons," one of the Sentinel guards warned. "They're preparing to collapse this entire region into a singularity." Elena made a swift decision. "Download what we need to portable drives. We evacuate in 5 minutes." As they prepared to leave, Okafor remained transfixed before the consciousness matrices. "These are what the myriad truly fear," she whispered. "Not our technology or numbers, but these specific minds. The architects of their creation." Astra confirmed. "Those who saw potential in primitive species and guided their evolution." Outside the facility, unexpected allies arrived as the first waves of awakened humans organized resistance against myriad forces. People who had never held weapons found themselves instinctively coordinating complex battle strategies, their bodies remembering skills their minds had never learned. In orbit, the myriad fleet's communications erupted with confused reports as their systems began failing, shut down by override codes that ordinary humans somehow knew. Their weapons platforms went offline one by one, disabled by precisely targeted attacks from civilian hackers who suddenly understood alien computer architecture. When Elena's team finally emerged from the repository with the salvaged data and consciousness matrices, they found not a battlefield but a turning point. The myriad ground forces were in retreat, their technological advantage neutralized by humanity's explosive cognitive evolution. "We've survived Protocol Omega before," Elena realized, the memories crystallizing in her mind. Mars wasn't the first time. That's why Earth was the fallback position, because we knew how to shield it from their most devastating weapons. Astra nodded grimly. "Now you understand why reaching the lunar installation is critical. This planet has built-in defenses, but they must be activated from the moon." The hijacked Myriad shuttle climbed through Earth's atmosphere, its navigation systems reconfigured by Elena's newly awakened knowledge of xenotechnology. Behind them, the planet's surface glittered with unusual energy signatures as millions of awakened humans activated dormant technologies buried beneath cities, mountains, and oceans. "The Myriad blockade is tightening around the moon," Dr. Webb reported, interfacing with the shuttle's sensor array. 17 capital ships in lunar orbit. They know what we're attempting. Elena piloted with unnatural precision, her hands moving across alien controls as if she'd spent lifetimes at the helm. Each maneuver felt like muscle memory, though her conscious mind had never performed these actions before. Secondary memory integration accelerates in crisis situations, Astra explained, observing Alina's performance. Your ancestor was a void walker, one who navigated the spaces between stars. In the shuttle's rear compartment, Secretary General Okafor sat with the consciousness matrices safely secured in portable containment units. Her eyes had taken on an unusual luminescence since their exposure in the repository, and occasionally she spoke in languages no one recognized. "She's experiencing bleed-through," Astra noted with concern. "The matrices are calling to compatible hosts." As they approached lunar orbit, the ship's sensors detected a transmission on frequencies no human technology should be able to access. Yet Alina understood every syllable. "It's a recognition signal from the lunar facility," she explained. "Identification protocol, Alpha Zenith Taurus." Through the viewports, they watched as several myriad vessels broke formation, weapons powering down unexpectedly. Confusion spread through the alien fleet as more ships experienced mysterious malfunctions. "The awakening has reached their crew," Astra realized. There were always humans aboard myriad vessels, observers implanted with suppression technology. Now they're remembering. A massive myriad dreadnought moved to intercept their approach, its weapons array charging. Before it could fire, a blinding beam lanced from the lunar surface, slicing through the vessel's command section with surgical precision. The ship drifted, disabled but largely intact. "The lunar defense grid is partially active," Alina said, reading data flowing through the shuttle systems. "Someone's already there." They landed in a vast hangar carved into the moon's dark side, a space large enough to house hundreds of vessels. Most docking slips stood empty, but in the distance, they could see dozens of sleek ships unlike anything in human or myriad design, craft with flowing organic lines that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. "The Night Shadow Fleet," Astra whispered with reverence. "A last line of defense." As they disembarked, they were met by a squad of armed figures in armor similar to the Sentinel Guards, but more elaborate, bearing insignia Alina somehow recognized as belonging to the Lunar Praetorian, humanity's elite guardian force. Their leader removed her helmet, revealing a face identical to Astra's. "Sister," she greeted Astra. The synchronicity window was narrower than projected. "We nearly initiated without you." "Lyra," Astra embraced her twin. "How many facilities have reactivated?" 7 globally, plus the lunar nexus," Lyra replied. "Enough to initiate planetary defense, but not full restoration." She turned to Alina's team. "The shepherd embedded in your companion has been contained. The others you bring show promising integration patterns." Lyra led them through cavernous halls where thousands of humans in partial armor worked at control stations, their movements suggesting recent awakening rather than trained precision. "Survivors from the myriad ships," Lyra explained. "The suppression technology keeping them docile failed when they entered the lunar nexus field. They've been remembering for only hours, yet their genetic programming is asserting rapidly." At the facility's heart, they entered a vast spherical chamber. In its center floated a miniature representation of Earth, surrounded by concentric rings of pulsing energy, a control interface of tremendous complexity. "The Aegis Protocol awaits initialization," Lyra announced. "Earth's ultimate defense system." She turned to Alina with sudden intensity. "But there's something you must understand before we activate it. The full truth of why humanity chose to forget." The holographic Earth rotated slowly as Lyra activated the chamber's archival systems. 3-dimensional images materialized around them, scenes from humanity's forgotten history, displayed with perfect clarity. 5 million years ago, humanity achieved technological singularity, Lyra began. "We transcended biological limitations, cured all disease, conquered death itself. We spread across the galaxy not as conquerors but as shapers, finding worlds with promising primitive species and guiding their evolution." The images showed humans working alongside developing alien races, including early myriad. "We believed ourselves benevolent," Lyra continued, "until the Axiom crisis. The hologram shifted to show a star system where planets fractured and reformed according to geometric patterns clearly designed by intelligent minds. Our technological mastery reached a point where we began reshaping reality itself. Some factions believed this was our destiny, to become architects of existence. Others warned we were unraveling the cosmic order. Elena watched as holographic civilizations rose and fell in accelerated time, human-guided species achieving spaceflight, joining the galactic community. The myriad were our greatest success, Lyra explained. Genetically engineered from primitive aquatic life, designed to complement human abilities. They became our partners, then our equals, and finally, our conscience. The images darkened, showing conflict between human factions, worlds burning, stars collapsing into engineered black holes used as weapons. The Civil War lasted 3 centuries. A third of the galaxy became uninhabitable. The myriad fought alongside the conservative faction, those who believed there should be limits to our power. In the end, they helped us defeat those who would have remade the universe in their image. Lyra's expression grew solemn. The victors faced an impossible choice. Humanity possessed knowledge too dangerous to exist, yet too valuable to destroy. The solution was the Great Forgetting, a deliberate regression, placing humanity's knowledge and history into dormant genetic memory while starting civilization anew on Earth. But the myriad betrayed the arrangement, Astra interjected. They were supposed to be guardians, not jailers. Some honored the original agreement, Lyra corrected. Others feared a resurgent humanity would resume its most dangerous experiments. They sabotaged the awakening timeline, extending what should have been a 20,000-year cycle into hundreds of thousands of years. The holograms displayed Earth's history, myriad observers subtly manipulating human development, sometimes accelerating progress, sometimes deliberately causing conflicts to prevent unity. The shepherds were their most insidious creation, Lyra said. Humans whose minds were hollowed out and replaced with myriad consciousness, designed to guide humanity's development along safe paths. Secretary General Okafor stepped forward, the luminescence in her eyes intensifying. This explains the Council Matrix's urgency. They've been waiting far too long. The question before us, Lyra addressed them all, is what humanity chooses to become now. The Aegis Protocol doesn't just defend Earth, it initiates full awakening. All dormant knowledge, including the reality-shaping technologies that nearly destroyed the galaxy. Elena looked at the team that had followed her from Earth, scientists and researchers now burdened with the weight of an entire species' future. We need balance, Elena decided. Activate planetary defense, secure our survival, but implement knowledge restoration selectively. We remember who we were, but we choose who we become. Lyra smiled with something like pride. The Council thought you might say that. With ceremonial precision, Lyra, Astra, and Elena placed their hands on the control interface. The holographic Earth pulsed with light that spread through the representation in geometric patterns, mirroring actual energy fields deploying around the real planet below. Aegis Protocol initiated. Modified implementation. The facility's systems announced. Planetary shield deploying. Selective knowledge restoration pathway enabled. On view screens throughout the chamber, they watched as a shimmering field enveloped Earth, rendering myriad weapons ineffective. The alien fleet, faced with this impenetrable defense and growing insurrection within their own ships, began retreating to a safe distance. A communication channel opened, displaying High Chancellor Zex Toril, his manner now more subdued. The Confederation Council requests negotiation terms, he stated formally. No, Elena replied, ancient authority flowing through her voice. The Confederation will receive terms, not request them. Humanity remembers its past, including both achievements and mistakes. We choose a new path forward, neither conquerors nor subjects. As the lunar facility's systems fully integrated with Earth's awakening infrastructure, Elena felt a profound shifting, not just in the technologies around her, but in humanity's collective consciousness. They were becoming something new yet ancient, tempered by both forgotten wisdom, and hard-earned humility. We created you, Elena told Zextoril, not to serve us, but to remind us of our better nature. It's time for both our species to fulfill their true purpose. The Night Shadow fleet awakened fully, ships rising from their ancient berths, ready to ensure humanity's declaration would be respected throughout the galaxy that had forgotten them. The Ancient Ones had returned, not as the gods they once aspired to be, but as something perhaps more valuable, beings who understood the cost of power and the responsibility of wisdom.